1 year of house renovations. Let's have a look. Merry Christmas everyone and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. And I thought today we would do a house update, a house renovation update, just going through what we have been working on over the last year. And well, we're not finished. We're a very long way from finished, but it is good for us to have a look through what we've done. Really for me as well to see it. And you know, we've for those of you that don't know, we bought an old Queenslander here in Brisbane, and we're doing it up. We're lifting it up, moving it over, rotating it. We want to essentially turn it into a 8-bedroom house with a parents' master suite, double garage, study area, and we need it because we have a lot of children. We've got 6 kids, so we're planning for when they become teenagers. And that's why we bought this place. It was falling over when we bought it. Literally, the posts were at an angle. 4 people had fallen through in previous offers. That's how desperate they were, and that's why the price was so low, because it was a fixer-upper. It really was. I brought an engineer mate to come out and have a look, and he said, yeah, you got about a year and a half. It was about 5 or 6 before we got the money to actually start working on it. And, well, we've been doing it owner-builder now for the last 2 years, and this is the 21 to 22 update I thought I would share with the channel, just, well, to share the journey with you and the lessons that we've learned. Part of the reason why we're doing this as owner-builder as well is because, hang on, what's going on here? Let me fix this screen issue we've got here, is because Rachel and I are architects, and we want to, hang on, let me just, boom, there we go, that'll work. We want to get our hands dirty. Years and years of drafting projects, designing projects, getting stuff built. It's a bit different when you actually get your hands dirty, so I thought we'd share this adventure with all of you as a bit of a Christmas tale. So, let's have a look. This is where we were at December last year. So we'd left the house, and we had, well, I had demolished, wait a minute, can I see here? I had demolished all of this, or here there was a deck coming off. All of this has been demolished. This used to all be internal. And you can see, there we go. So we had the old deck here, coming here, you know, for a 100-year-old house. All of this here was demolished, all here, the posts, everything was demolished. You can see how they're actually angled. Some of these posts, there's a bit of rot there as well. Not too bad, actually. All the floor joists are fine. The roof is fine except for the possums getting in. The gutters need to be redone. So, you know, we bought it with a lot of work. It really needed some love. The paint needed to be done. So the first thing we did in January is we stripped all the paint. So this is here me using this this system, because it was lead-based paint, and to take it off, you can put this stuff on. And it's a thick gunk that you put on there, and then you just scrape it off, and it contains it all on this paper. So you've got a lot less issues with it going everywhere or with it sanding. So yeah, so we did that. I'd already done it on the previous sides as well. I've experimented with a lot of different ways of removing the paint, and I found this was the easiest one. So we did this elevation, the side elevation there, and the back. So, you know, that was the first thing we did. And at this point, we had left the house. And then you can see here the kids were helping me put the first coat of paint on. We're going to paint it all this blue. This will be the finished paint, and they were helping me here. And, you know, we got the front of the house all finished, looking nice. And at this point, we've moved out of here, and we're living up the street. We found a little duplex, only a few houses up, super convenient, pretty cheap rent, but very tight and very crowded, particularly with all of us, but we're making do. We're making do. So, in January, then after we painted that, we've started clearing the site, and you can see here we had a whole lot of stuff growing up here as well, and we needed to clear the side as well so I could paint there all the trees, because the house is going to move forward and rotate to move over, so we could maximize our block. Because here, this is where we're building a whole other new double-story, you know, double garage, parents' retreat, living areas, and a big deck at the back. We've got a lot of frontage. We've got a 20-meter frontage. We're the only block that has it in the area, so we're taking advantage of it. So that part of that is moving the house over. So you can see here, you know, there's the blue paint. This here will, well, it'll be patched up later because we'll have another wall coming out here. That's a crappy old door. That doesn't really matter. This will have to repair, but you can see here I got up there, painted it all. Not too bad. You can see there the overspray, the white there. I'll fix that later. I think I already have. But anyway. So that's what we did in January. We cleared it and we got it ready to raise the house. Okay, because I needed to demolish all of this stuff. I did all the demo myself. In Brisbane, or in Queensland, when you do a course, you can remove 3 square meters of asbestos. We had a little bit in the previous stage, and I took it down to Waterford West. There was a tip there that a viewer recommended to me, where you wrap it all up. I hired a trailer special for it. I wrapped it all up, triple wrapped it, had it soaking wet, wearing all the hazard gear, and they'll come with a little digger, pick it up, take it away, $50. Fantastic. Nowhere in Brisbane I could do it. Nowhere I could take it in Brisbane. I'd ring up tradies to come and collect it, or they wouldn't even give me a quote because this has been crazy times. This is another reason why we've taken so long and done it all ourselves. So I had to go down to Waterford to get rid of it. There should be places where people can easily dispose of this stuff, because you know what they'll do otherwise. They'll just chuck this stuff down the drain, or they'll throw it on the streets and it'll contaminate things. So we raised the house in February, and here's the boys arriving with the blocks, and they pretty much just Jenga stack it underneath, guys. So here they're going underneath the house. They're just stacking these Jenga blocks. We weren't quite high enough to get underneath comfortably. It's too low. And we wanted to maximize the ceiling height and get it up. And you can see here I've got a few dodgy weather boards, and I'll replace those later. You can see here I was stripping this side while we waited for them. That was hot work. Did it all myself. Painted this one here too. So it's all part of buying a fixer-upper, guys. This is what you have to do. So the boys were there lifting it up, and you can see here at the back on this staircase we demolished. I think I've got to tidy all up. All these little tiny things at the junctions between stuff. You can see here that they're putting the U-beam under here to lift up the house. They're slowly getting up there. There's one of my steins that sadly it doesn't survive anymore. You can see here this is all the paint that I've stripped there. The weatherboard is pretty decent. It's bigger. It's a bigger size. It's an older one. So we're going to be able to find a match, kind of. It's going to be a bit difficult, but we'll get there, because we want to continue this down, this facade and this facade. And here you go. This is them lifting it up. Right there. They just jack it up like car jacks. And you can see that, this is a little bit later actually, but they lifted it up to this, they lifted it up off the piers so we could get the steel in. I think I got these images out of order. Yeah, adding the parallel flange channels. This is what was added underneath the house to take the weight. So they bolted it to the existing bearers. The joists are on top, and then at this height, see here how they've taken it that much off the posts. That made it a lot easier for the steelies to come in and put it up. Normally you'd get the house raisers to do it all. They'll come in and put the beams in and everything, but it was so busy, so they couldn't. So I had to get someone else to do the steel work, and they've been pretty good. They've been really good blokes. Even the Kiwis that's smoking his bloody vape stuff, flavored strawberry tobacco flavored stuff. So no, they've been good. We had to replace every other one of these with bolts going through, not screws at the center, but that's a small issue that they resolved. So, we had the PFCs put in. So that's the first part of the steel work. And you can see here's the boys from SJ putting all that in there while I still hadn't had that facade finished. And that was satisfying to see. Finally, some steel starting to get in. And you can see the house is still supported on these things. So once that was in, then, the next step, that's how we're sitting here. So you can see up on the U-beams, all the Jenga blocks everywhere. Notice how they've got a whole lot of them down the bottom. See here, they've got a whole lot down the bottom. That shows you they're a little bit more experienced than some of the other mobs. Because there was another house raise here in Queensland. The whole thing tipped over. They got it really high, and this is going to get much higher. You'll see in the photos. It tipped over because they didn't, the ground was really wet, and ours is terribly wet too. They didn't have enough down here. So we were at that point there. Okay, now they have to lift it and rotate it. How do you think they moved this thing? How do you think they moved this thing? You know, I'll let you answer in the comments while I have a shot of coffee. If you said with soap, you're right. It's nuts. So here you go. They're jacking it up, one side of the house to the other. The boys are just lifting it up slowly, and they're adding Jenga blocks underneath. That's how they do it. They just slowly lift it up. You can see here. There you go. It's going up. Oh, hang on. Can we play this? Wait. Yeah. Is that sound? Wait, let me see if the sound is coming through there. Okay, wait. I'll play this. No, okay, it's not liking that. Anyway, you don't need the sound. You can just see they're slowly winching it over. Oh, well. Okay, it's not liking it in PowerPoint. What they did is they had soap on it, and they were winching it to twist the house. That's what they're doing. Soap in between pieces of timber. It was nuts. So you can see here how it's getting up, and they're aligning it here. See, this is the string line here. So you can see how much we moved it over to get that extra space here on this side. So we're about, what, a bit over 2.7, I think, or 2.55. We're a little bit more than we need to be from the boundary to give us some room to play with. But we're really moving it over to straighten this guy up to get us more space for the other part of the house. That was, I think this is where the house originally was when they divided up all of this area, because this used to be the original workers' cottage for Sunnybank Hills, the farm that was here. And, well, because it was at a funny block, a funny angle, they made the block bigger. So, awesome. And we're taking advantage of it. So we've moved it over. So you can see here, this was, oh, that's an outdated shot anyway. Yeah, this is where they've got it straight. They've got it straight up now. You can see here underneath, this is all the PFCs, and it's aligned. Now I've got these boys to deal with. I've got to get rid of these. I've got to get rid of those. You know, so there we go. They lifted it up. This is the height. I think this is the final height or close to it where they brought it up, and that gives me a lot more room to work under here. And you can see here, I mean, this is where I had to cut one part of the house off from the other, the little studio at the back. Got to repair all this, just replace all this. That'll happen later. It's not critical at the moment. So now I had to demolish the columns under the house. This is in April. Okay, in April. And, well, they're painful to get out. They're painful to get out. These things are down 0.5 meter, if not more, and they're bloody heavy. And I started by just using a winch, a chain, and a rope, and just digging them out and knocking them over. I did all the other ones on the other side. I over here, I dug a whole lot of them out until I got an excavator, a hired one to do it. And I knocked a few of them over. You know, they were coming out not too bad, depending on how sticky the ground is. It's all clay that we have, so it's pretty sticky. And you can see here the kids are inspecting it. And we had rain. Rain caused so many delays for us. Every part of this project has been delayed due to rain. Every single part. And even now. Even today. So we hired a little dingo. And here's one of my daughters on it. I hired this little tiny one. And it's small. It is really small. Because one of my neighbors suggested using it to pick up these columns. So I'm driving around on this one. Never used one before. They're fun. It's like a computer game once you get a feel for the controls of it. But they're so small, these things. They're tiny. And you can see here I was driving into them and managed to knock these guys over and pick it up, which you shouldn't do this. You should not do it. It bent the bucket. Honestly, it bent the bucket, and that cost me extra to repair. That was what my neighbor was teaching me how to do it. The dodgy Australian builder. So I managed to get them out. I ended up chaining them, dragging them around, moving them at the site and storing them all here at the front. And yeah, no. So they were painful to get out, guys, these things. I still got a few of them. What I ended up doing for some of them, particularly close to the Jenga blocks, because I tell you, driving this thing around, I'm driving underneath the house. So I'm driving between these things here with the little buggy, the little digger. I only tapped the Jenga blocks once, just with the side of the bucket when I was moving, and that scared the shit out of me. I'm terrified. I'm thinking, oh, the whole thing's going to come down if I knock them over. So you got to be really careful and really sensible as you're driving it, you know, and really, you know, just be use common sense. So I ended up digging around here. So I'd use the add-on, like one of the trenches, to dig it over, and then I'd string a chain up here and just winch it up and lift these things up and winch them up and then slowly tip them over. And that, it took a while, but we got them. Well, I got them all out. I'm doing this by myself. And some of them, they're just a pain to get out. So I just went at them with the demo hammer, guys. Just grinding the thing up to get the bloody concrete out because we needed to. Because we can't just leave it in there because, well, you'll see what will happen when we're putting the screw piles in. So, and you can see here, I got a nice big pile of these guys that I'm just collecting here to dispose of. And these are just the decking that the house raiser used to move the house. It put soap between two planks of the decking and then move it one side to the other to move it around. It's nuts. This is a business you got to get into, guys. $5 a day to rent this shitter, and they clean it and everything. We got to get into that. Forget this architecture or YouTubing or, being an engineer. Guys, just rent out shitters. Seriously, I got to look into that. Now, the first little dingo I had, it broke. It leaked hydraulics, and the pin here, it snapped from the bucket, which I don't think it was powerful enough for what I had to do, for all the digging I had to do and all the work I had to do. I do not think it was big enough. The guys came out and they maintained it a few times. It leaked just when I was doing the first little stuff, moving things around. So I'd probably get, a bigger one. Then once we got all of these guys out, we had to put in these screw piles. And we got a bigger digger here, a much meatier one with an auger. And you can see here I'm scraping the ground and getting rid of a whole lot of dirt. Now, the screw piles, these are metal posts, essentially, that are just dug into the ground with a huge, much bigger machine, like a several-ton machine with a big power, digging it down 6 to 7 meters. Depends on how far. I think the most we went was 6 meters, maybe a bit more. Depends on the ground. You can see here I got it all tidy. And we had to put in we had to mark them out. So we had to set out where each of these went under the house. And we just dropped string lines down to kind of get it right, because we're putting a little pad onto each one of these, and from there we're going up here with our posts. And you can see there's the auger. There's the auger. Now, I'd never used an auger before. I'd never used one before. And it's not easy to get, you'd think, oh yeah, be digging it up, no problem. It's bloody hard, guys, getting it straight, getting it in the right position. And like a little tiny bullshit root, like little one, thin as my finger, can stop that huge auger there. Can stop that. So I'm there, digging down, and we got roots everywhere underneath from the trees. We had lots of trees that we'd cleared. And, I'd be there. The day we did it, we did all these starter holes, and then the big machine was coming out behind us and screwing in. So I was trying to keep ahead of him, because we had delayed the screw piles again and again and again because of the weather. And every time we push it back, it means we have to keep these Jenga blocks here, and they cost us money. We ended up going over budget by about $4,000 on the Jenga blocks because we had it so much longer. They were really good with us because they appreciated the fact that the weather was insane and threw everyone out. So they didn't charge us as much as they could have, which was really nice of them. They didn't have to. And so we were there doing the bloody auger things, and we got them in, and the screw piles was coming behind us. We got it all done in a day. And this is how many we had to do. So this here is the under the house. Okay, this is stage 1. This is the first part. And this is the second stage. This is where we're putting the double garage up here, the parents' retreat and, laundry and stuff at the back here. Now, we've changed the plan, actually, because it's taken so long. We've refined the plan again. We've moved some stuff around. But it's okay. I mean, we're architects, so we understand the implications of what we're doing. And we're building ourselves, so it's not the end of the world. But we made a mistake here. We made a mistake in these screw piles. We didn't align them perfectly. We set it out ourselves. We didn't align them all perfectly. Some of them were slightly off. And that has a structural implication that we didn't realize until afterwards, because they weren't all perfectly dead straight. There's potential for racking and for movement. So we've learned a valuable lesson here, which is, we'll get a professional to dig your auger stuff. But we're having to add additional structure to it. But we'll get to that later. That's what's happening now. So these are what we ended up with. These are the screw piles here, and we had to fill them up with concrete, put a little cage on it and a little pad on there. But, of course, you know what happened. You know what happened. See, here you go. These were the cages. I couldn't get any concreters to give me any quotes. I kept chasing them. None of them would get to me. So I ended up getting my Steely to make these little cages for me, which is probably a mistake. I could have done it myself a lot cheaper and easier now that I realize. But live and learn. Live and learn. And you can see why we're realizing that now. And that's not the right way they go in. We have to move them around a bit. And these here, this is how I just made them safe. I put little chairs on there. And that worked pretty well, actually. So we had flooding. Or not really flooding, but just rain upon rain upon rain. All of these things. After we'd dug them, we'd gotten more rain. It delayed us again. We tried to put tarps down to stop them filling up, but they all filled up. You can see here I've got piles of cages there. I got mud everywhere. I got shit everywhere. It's just a nightmare. This just delayed us again, as it always has. The rain has just been terrible. I mean, you can see they have deep holes in there with the screw piles in, full of water everywhere. The rain's coming down, and this is just, I'm trudging through this shit to record because, you know, I'm at the back, the little studio there. I'm still working here, and it's just, yeah, that was just terrible. So from June to August, this is when we were working on capping the screw piles. Okay, and the first thing was to get the water out of it. And here's Rachel and the kids getting buckets and things. I bought pumps to pump them all out, and it was just, you can see here, they were all just filling up. The ground was all screwed up, and yeah, we needed to get these guys concreted in, the pads, and then we were going to scrape everything under here, and then get rid of these guys, and then chop away underneath this. You know, that was the strategy to do. Now, you can see this is the problem we had. They would fill up all the time. All the time we get more and more rain coming in and just delaying us. So I ended up getting a vacuum dig to vacuum them all out. And you can see here they made them bigger to fit our little cages that we made. So we had the holes dug as the size that the engineer specified. But even designing the cages to fit in there as the sizes they've specified, the cages were a little too big to get the concrete clearance around it. So we made the holes squarer to just fit it all in nicely. And so, yeah, we had to get the vacuum dig to dig it out. Now, this was a cost that we hadn't anticipated. But, you know, you've got to do what you got to do. So they came and they dug them all out and cleaned them all out for us and got them to the right size, so we could get the pile caps in. You can see here we got these guys, you know, with the sand in. Now, there was another problem that we had. The level of this, the RLs. So we set the RLs based off a point that we had, but our laser wasn't 100% accurate. I think it was jammed. And because that day was so hectic, we just said, I'd rather you set them higher and we'll sort it out later. So this is where I had to cut these things. And, you know, you think you couldn't quite get into an angle grinder there. I wanted to get a vertical angle grinder. I finally got one. Hang on. I got one here, but it's a bit late now. I'll use it to polish it all up. I ended up getting a plasma cutter. From the advice of the viewers on the channel, I had a little arc torch. Arc torch, is that what it's called? Yeah, that's what it's called, isn't it? Acetone torch. You know, the ones that if you get the mixture of the oxygen wrong, oxytorch, it'll blow up on you. I couldn't get that burning bright enough underneath, you know, outside with this little, I bought a little tiny one, like this big bottles. It just kept blowing out every time I was trying to cut this thing because of the wind. I couldn't get it, I could barely get it right, burning really nice, but I probably didn't have the skill. I need more practice in it. I bought this, wasn't cheap, but I need a compressor anyway. That's the thing. You know, I need a compressor because I want to get a nail gun to do a lot of the work inside the house later. So I needed it. And I mean, the MIG welder isn't that expensive anyway. So that was an Aldi deal, or the plasma cutter. So I had to cut through each one of these in a hole. And I got through most of them. Then my Steely he had his welder come and help finish them off for me. It's not fun, but he did a couple. I ended up doing most of them. I'm keeping all the scraps. I'm going to make a bloody art installation for our entry. We'll have a double height entry space above a staircase. I'm going to make this metal thing called Suffering in Pain. So we did that. We got those done. We got them cut. Then here we got the halls prepped. The engineer's signing off on it, and I'm buying bags of concrete. And we were just going to bag these pads up, do these little pads just under the house with bags, just ourselves, just so we could knock one over, get it done before the rain comes, to try and squeeze it in between the rain, rather than get all the halls vacuumed, dug out. We all prepped them by hand, and that's what we did. That's what we do with all the halls. There's Eddie as I'm, taking wheelbarrows of sand at the back so we can get it all ready. And there you go. We put it in. Look at my beautiful formwork there, guys. The patina of the wood there. Hey, it does the job. It's under the house. It doesn't need to look that pretty, but, but there you go. I'm an architect, guys. Come on. I'm not a concreter. Although I probably could go and work for a concreter now, helping out now with all that I've done. So we got those done. And then once we had that done, we got the digger out to scrape underneath to the level of these guys, the pads that we had. Okay, to scrape it all, and we're going to build a little retaining wall there and tidy it all up. But we wanted to maximize our floor to ceiling height here, because we have a flood level that we need to be, the habitable level needs to be at. But we wanted to get nice high ceilings there. We're spending money for that. And underneath the floor, we need a certain clearance so I can get underneath there and, get people plumbing in, all of that, because we're having a floating floor. We're doing a Hebel aerated block floor on steel. That's the plan. So we hired a guy to come out and dig out now, because I was over it. Honestly, I was over the digger. We hired it out. We had huge mountains of the stuff. We had them take it all away. It was quite expensive to get rid of the dirt. And of course, we had more rain, filling up everywhere, causing issues. It's just, again, just such a pain in the ass. That's been the biggest challenge this year. It's been really wet. You can see here, they had all the bobcats. They were taking everything away. And here we had the excavation all done for the garage as well. Okay, and we're getting that. This is the height of the house there. It's up. You can see here we've got some of the concrete pads. That one's a bit high, but, screw it. She'll be right. It's going to look a bit rustic in certain parts because, well, it is owner-builder, and that's part of the charm. You can see here, so this is where we've cut out for the garage slab. I need to tidy it up a bit and form it up, which we're doing now. But, here's the building, up in the air. I've got to cut back those trees. It's on my list, my bloody never-ending list. So, in October, we added the steel posts. So, our steely came back, and they brought their posts in to, fix to the pads. So they bring them down, fix to the pads here, bring down the posts. Beautiful drawing skills there, Florian. Okay, so you can see here they're putting them all in, all around, and they did that over a couple of weeks between other jobs as they did. So yes, and then they put all the cross bracing, all of that in there. And then once we had the posts in, once we had dug out underneath, we can get rid of the blocks. Finally, we can get rid of the blocks. Because they were ringing me. They want their blocks back because that cost them money not having them on a site, not working with them. So you can see here in November, they started removing the blocks. Okay, they were bringing them all down. Here's the bracing all finished. What we did is we did it so they could unbolt these, so they could get the bobcat in and take them on. I think they scratched a few of the posts a little bit there. They haven't put the grat underneath it yet, but it's getting there. It's getting there. And you can see we want nice high ceilings, and we're going to build right up to the underside as much as we can. We'll make it work. And then here's the thing. Here we had the excavation underneath the Jenga blocks. Okay, because these guys here are gone, and we had the excavator come back and dig all of this up for us, and then he did some more excavation there. So we got more leveling and digging, as I said. He's now digging. What we have to do is we're putting trenches between these guys, here between the posts, to join them all together at the ground level. And this is the slab will go here, for the double car garage. We'll get that one in there. And what we have going on here, I'm going to put a few more posts down. We've got a bit of bounce up in this floor because it's a little bit heavy. So I'm going to put some more posts down going onto these beams that we're putting in between there. So that should help out. But it's getting there, guys. It's slowly but surely getting there. Getting out of the ground is one of the hardest things. And, of course, we've got more rain. More rain filling up all of these things. So you can see here, these are the beams between it where we have to join them all up. I'm going to have to cut down these screw piles again and just cast them into the beams. The plasma cutter will be really easy to use there. I'll go around it, cut a hole through it, put a N13 through that, and just run the cages across and weave it all in. That'll be nice. But there you go, guys. It's the bloody rain. It has been such a pain in the ass with this build. You couldn't believe it. It just all fills up. And the neighbor there, he's calling me, saying, Florian, didn't know you were getting a pool. Give me shit. Well deserved. But, of course, when it was all nice and hot, the kids loved it. Rachel's there. She's pumping out by hand, actually. She finds that works better than a lot of the pumps, which I guess. And the kids, there you go, they were playing. They loved the mud. And we've got so many photos of just family time. Going over there, building something. The kids are helping. I needed to move a whole lot of legs, 300 legs. The girls helped me. It's just part of being family and having fun. That's one of the little bonuses of all of this. And, they are being sensible around this environment too. I mean, playing here, we're all watching them. It's not dangerous. So, December, what have I been doing this month? And part of the reason why there have been less videos, it's been tying rebar. So these beams here, we're going to put a little beam here, a little cage of rebar going through here. These I'm going to make smaller. And I'm going to add more dirt in here. So we haven't got rid of our dirt. We're going to fill it all in with some plywood and just level it all out. And we'll do that by hand. We're tying the rebar between the beams. So we had about 2.1 tons of different size rebar. I had to model it all up in Revit. I've never done that before. As an architect, never modeled up rebar, designed it, all the junctions, everything. Because, the engineer, they gave us a sketch, which is fine. But I still need to know what to order. I need to know how many pieces to order. I need to know what sizes to order. And then I need to look at how to get an efficient cut out of these bars. So we had them deliver it. And here's Rachel. She is the rebar tying expert now. You can see there's her first cage she's done. She's doing another one. It's a bit wonky there, but she's got the hang of it now. The funny thing is Rachel made a bouquet, a wire bouquet, wire and bead bouquet. The skill for our wedding. And the skill she got there is just being applied here to tie the rebar together. So you can see she's getting the legs and the bars. And this is where we're at now. So we're just fabricating up all of these cages. Okay, and then we're going to tidy up these trenches. We're going to set dowels into here. Chem set them in, and then we're going to lay in the cages and put the dowels in. I've tested on one where I've got in there and cut it in. And we just need to get the engineer to sign off on our rebar adventures. So yes, that's where we're going at it. The first one I tied every single leg to every single bar, which you don't need to do. You don't need to just every other or every other. Just the wire there's just to hold it together. It's not of any structural significance. And once you get the hang of it, you get pretty good at it. Although Rachel's really bloody good. She's more efficient with the wire. So you can see here these are all the beams that we have to run underneath there. The idea is if we get all the rebar done, we'll get a truck and a pump and we'll do it all at once. We'll do all of this, we'll do the slab, and we'll do the beams between the stage 2. So we'll finish up this with stage 1 all underneath and stage 2, which is the garage slab. Because we're running the sewer line along underneath here. It'll be suspended under the house because we've dug already the sewer trench to the pipe that we're going to reconnect. So this is where we were December 2021. And this is where we are now as of this morning. You can see here, we've managed to lift it up. We've finished the painting. We've rotated it. We've got it in position. We've got the steel in place. We've gotten rid of all of the stuff under here. There's actually a switchboard an ancient switchboard that I got rid of too. We've got the rebar. We're working on the cages. And we hope to we want to get occupied by May next year, and that's the floor done and at least the outside cladding done to the point where we can go in and make do. make do. Even if we're running, our power temporarily off the pole until we get the wiring done, at least on the ground level, we'll find a way to make do. Because you can get by. You can rough it a little bit for a few months, and that's part of the reason of why we're not borrowing huge amounts of money to do this. We're funding it as we go. So that's kind of also another reason why it's taken longer, rather than just paying a builder and making all their problem. But also, we're learning through going through this process. As an architect, you draw and design and problem solve, but it's a lot different. Cutting steel yourself, tying rebar, making sure it all fits, getting the concrete right, and then timing it all, which is good experience to have. So this is where the goal is. Okay, so we're here, and the end goal, and we'll get some nice renders. I mean, it's our own private job, so we haven't done any nice renders, to be brutally honest. But this is the end goal. This is the upper story here. Okay, right here, guys. That is this guy here. You can see this is the little deck and extension. If you go in here, that's a 2-story void for the staircase. That'll be up here. We'll get a nice door there, and we're going to put that window, but this will all be internal. So we're having another roof come out off here and down. And then we'll have the more modern structure here with the double garage, the living, dining, parents' retreat here with a little balcony out there, and the little veranda at the back. And under that's probably going to be a little studio. I'll have a recording studio at the back and some bedrooms for the kids. So that's the plan. And that's how we're going, guys. Let's have a bit of a... So that's been the house project for the last year. Has it gone as quick as I hoped? No, not at all. It's taken much longer. Getting out of the ground is a big challenge. The weather is a real pain in the ass. And, I mean, could we have done it faster if we hired a builder to do it for us? Yeah, we could have. We certainly could have. But... well, that's not part of the fun, is it? You want to get your hands dirty. You want to do it yourself. You want to learn. I mean, we've tied rebar now. I've used an auger and used the digger. I've demolished parts of houses. I've figured out how I can dispose of concrete really, really cheap. And they're looking at me crazy as I'm chucking it off the back of my trailer by hand, and all these huge dump trucks come. Hey, money's money. So it's part of the journey too, guys. This is part of it. No, we'll get there. We'll get there eventually. It'll be fun. It'll take its time, but hey, we've got to do it. And we need a big house. This isn't like I'm building a huge bloody house to sell and to make lots of money. This is where I need to raise my teenagers, honestly. We're right in Brisbane. To get an 8-bedroom house this close to the city would cost us a bullshit amount. Well, everything costs a bullshit amount of money now. That's the truth. So, guys, I thought I'd just share this update as a bit of a Christmas video. I hope you all have a Merry Christmas. Spend some time with your family. Be safe on the roads. Don't do anything stupid. I mean, this is perfect as a podcast video to help you listen to it while you're driving home, having eaten too much. I will most certainly be parking my ass on a couch somewhere, having a nap after eating too much food, ignoring my diet and eating lots of chocolate. But Merry Christmas to all of you. Have a great year, and I'll see you in the next episode. If you want to support us, you can. Check out HeiseBim and HeiseSays International for other topics that I discuss. If you're a fan, you can support us on YouTube or Patreon. Use our referral links, buy our pocket squares, or call us if you need an architect. And finally, have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now. Now I should record that Boxing Day episode. I'll do that. Whoa, that's nearly a 40-minute episode. Wow. There you go. There's a Christmas special.